Hey guys, Moonlight Driver 24 here. So to start this channel off, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, superheroes and comic book characters. And that includes movies, TV, and of course, video games. And one of my all-time favorite superhero games, and video games in general, are the Batman Arkham franchise. Now, if you love Batman and are a gamer, do these really need an introduction? And if you're watching this video, they probably don't. So today, we're going to be ranking the villains of this series in a tier list, from worst to best. Now, this is honestly going to be just a quick video rather than a full-length analysis, which is something I'll probably do about each game at some point, but this is meant to be just a fun little tier list, and I honestly don't have the time to make a super long analysis at this time, as I'm actually in grad school, so for now we'll just do this, and it's going to be great. So, of course, there will be heavy spoilers for the entire Arkham series in this video, so if you haven't played the games yet and want to, please go do that and come back after. I know that'll probably take you a while, but trust me, it'll be worth it. Also, I would just like to note that this video is heavily inspired by the works of YouTubers like ClownPuncher139 or Gotham Paladin that heavily covered the Arkham games and make lots of awesome videos that I absolutely love watching, so if you haven't checked out their content and love Batman just like I do, please go watch their videos, as they're probably much better than mine. And this video is absolutely inspired by Gotham Paladin's tier list video, but this is by no means meant to be plagiarizing off of it, as I honestly just want to share my own opinions about the villains, and this is me trying to do so. So I hope you guys enjoy. Anyway, enough of me rambling, let's get into the list. So, at the top, we have S tier, which are the best of the best. A tier means they're amazing, but not quite the best of the best. B tier means they're really great. Not amazing, but great. C means they're good, and D means they're just okay, or nothing too special. And I don't think we'll have anybody in F tier today, so we'll just go down as low as D tier. So let's just get right off into it. And this won't be in any particular order as they're kind of just randomized, so we'll just go like that. So first off, we've got Victor Zsasz, a serial killer. And honestly, he's creepy as fuck, so I'm going to put him in A tier. And he's a really effective villain. He's got a great side mission in Arkham City where you track him down using cell phones in which he calls Batman around in Arkham City at random telephones, and you can hear the ringing as you're gliding around. And threatening him that he's going to kill one of his hostages if he doesn't hear another ringing phone in the city, if he doesn't get there in time. And it's a really interesting side mission where you learn a lot about his backstory and everything, and it's really great, but I'm sorry, I'm talking a little bit more about the side mission than the character. What I'm trying to say is Victor Zsasz is a really creepy, effective villain, and I think he works really well in the context of the series. I wish he came back in night, but you can actually see him in one of the cameras during the mission the main story mission where you're searching for Oracle in the clock tower cameras. And I think that's really interesting, and you can find a crime scene of his on Founders Island. So yeah, I think Victor Zsasz is really creepy. He was really creepy in Asylum, he was really creepy in City, and I think he's just a very compelling, good villain. Next up, we have Mr. Freeze, and honestly, we're just gonna go ahead and put him in S tier. I mean, come on, it's Mr. Freeze. I mean, personally, I love Mr. Freeze. He's one of my favorite Batman villains. I've always loved Mr. Freeze. He's complex, he's got a tragic backstory, he's not evil, but he does bad things, and he's just so compelling, and I just find him really interesting, and I think they did him very well in the Arkham series. They gave him an arc that starts in City, but actually starts in Origins, where we just learn how cruelly he was treated by Ferris Boyle, and at his original job at Boyle Industries or something like that. I forget what it's called. And then he gets involved in that unfortunate accident, and he's just trying to save his wife, and Batman helps take Ferris down in the end, and Freeze is sent away, but everybody still tries to help him take care of his wife. And then in City, we see that he's pretty much still doing the same thing, but is caught in the middle of a war between Joker and Penguin. And it's really interesting, and he ends up allying with Batman, even though they have an awesome boss fight at one point. But they end up working together and have a mutual respect in the end. And then at night, we see him come back, and the militia try to turn him against Batman. So they kidnap Nora in an attempt to turn him to their side. And it's really interesting. And we don't even see them fight. We see Victor initially pissed at Batman, but then we see Batman convince him that, yeah, the militia obviously can't be trusted. So I just think Mr. Freeze is a phenomenal villain, and I think they do him really well in this series, and I really wish that... I think it would have been cool if we saw him in Asylum, but I honestly have no complaints. I think his arc at the end of Night was really good and tragic with how Nora wakes up, and she decides that ultimately she doesn't want to go back under. and just wants to live out the rest of her days with Victor. And so that just really concludes his arc of him being happy with his wife for the last of their days. And it's so tragic, but so beautiful. But I'll talk about that more when I talk about the side missions. So, yeah, Mr. Freeze is S tier. So we got Clayface. Clayface is... I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion. He kind of goes in A, but I also feel like he goes in B. I'm going to put him in B for me personally. I like Clayface. I like him in the animated series with his little backstory of being like an actor and being a bit of a tragic character. And that he just does shitty things and everything. And then like in the Arkham series, he's really just... I don't remember his full backstory. I'm sorry. But I do know that I like him in Arkham City being the twist that he was playing Joker all along. Very interesting twist. And he has an excellent boss fight. He's very menacing, you know. But I don't think... And like, it was a nice little twist villain, but they didn't really do anything with him after that. I think it would have been cool if we saw him again in like Origins and like a side mission or a brief mention in Night or something. I don't know. I just didn't find it like... How do I put this? The twist was really interesting and it was great, but Clayface himself wasn't really that interesting if you ask me. You can hate me all you want for this. I honestly will totally understand. I think he's B tier. B tier villain. Now Hush. This one's upsetting. Because in the comics, from what I understand and what I've read so far, because I just got the comic and I've started reading it, he's A tier. Maybe even S tier in the comics. But damn. In this series, he's a C. Don't get me wrong, his side mission in City is great, where he's, you know, cutting off people's faces in order to construct his own face that looks identical to Bruce Wayne's. I mean, wow. And, like, the whole thing at the end that's teasing him in the next game, really cool. Really cool. But honestly, they don't do anything interesting with him in Night, and that's why he's pulled down. Like, if they did something more with him, probably be an A. But because of Night and his little lackluster mission where he just goes to Wayne Tower and holds Lucius hostage and just does that just to steal Bruce's money. I mean, the dialogue between him and Bruce is great, but other than that, it's nothing too special. Disappointing. Okay, so Hugo Strange. I just replayed Arkham City, as I actually just replayed all the games except Asylum for this. So my opinions on them are all pretty fresh. So, Hugo Strange, I would say he goes in A. He's menacing, he's evil, he's a twisted, demented mind, and is like the evil doctor kind of guy, and that does all these experiments, and pretty much knows a lot about Batman, and is teamed up with a lot of the villains to take him down. Kind of similar to Scarecrow in the Arkham Knight, but he's much more logistical and pragmatic, I guess you would say. He's not, like, as evil as Scarecrow, I would say, but he's just pretty cruel and just insane. Like, he's evil. Him and Scarecrow are just evil and totally in very different ways, but not really, because they both perform experiments. They both hate Batman. But Hugo Strange has a savior complex in which he wants to save Gotham and cleanse it or whatever by killing all the criminals in Arkham City and teaming up with Ra's al Ghul and everything. But ultimately ends up only being a puppet for Ra's, but he's still really menacing from his portrayal in Arkham City, and I really like that. I really wish that he taunted Batman more throughout the game, like Scarecrow does in Night, and he's more of a background villain, and I appreciate the subtlety of that, because when you face off against him in the end, it's really good, especially with the twist of Ra's. I think that's cool. I do kind of wish that he did more of his own thing too, but Ra's, the whole thing with Ra's works really well. So I would say Hugo Strange is an A. Okay, so we're going to get into some controversial territory here. The Arkham Knight is D. I'm kidding. He's actually A for me. Yeah, I said it. Shut up. Arkham Knight is actually A tier, and I'm going to tell you why. Honestly, for a while, I thought I was one of the people that, you know, predicted the Arkham Knight's identity and everything, and didn't quite like that at first, but over time, it's never really pissed me off, and over time, I've come to really like it, and I think it works really, really well. I think Jason taunting Batman throughout the whole game with his remarks and everything is really good. I mean, he kidnaps Barbara. He's constantly trying to torment Batman throughout the game, and he destroys his car. And it's just, like, he's not evil, he's just really upset, and all his banter with Batman throughout the game, you can just see how much he hates him, and it's very obvious that it's Jason or someone from his past. And I just think he works effectively because of his tragic backstory, and I think if only they didn't try to market it to us as an original character, this would have worked so much better, because I really like Jason coming back as a villain in the Arkham series. I wish they foreshadowed it more, but I do love it, and I love the boss fight with him, with all that emotional dialogue with him, with Batman, and just how guilty he wants Batman to feel for it, and how guilty Batman does feel for it. And the whole thing about him being tortured in Arkham for over a year, and all the villains beating Joker, giving the other villains the option to beat up on him. Except, I did notice that in one comic panel, he said, "Crane, are you just going to stare at him?" And that's really interesting to me, because he was the one that ended up teaming up with Scarecrow. I want to know if Scarecrow actually knows who the Arkham Knight is. That would be really interesting. But I just find the Arkham Knight to be really compelling and menacing. I really like him as a villain, and I'm going to talk about that more in my Arkham Knight video. But for now, I will say I respect people that don't like it. I think it's fine. If you don't like the Arkham Knight at all, that is completely fine. I 100% respect and think your feelings are 100% valid. But I think you gotta say, at least it's a solid portrayal of Jason. Okay, it's a solid portrayal of Jason for me, because we don't have that many portrayals of Jason in media yet. He's still, hasn't been seen as much as we'd like him to be seen. But for now, this was still really good, and I love playing as Red Hood. So he goes at the top of A tier. Catwoman. I don't really count her as a villain, but I guess as a character, she goes at the top of A. I mean, come on, it's Catwoman. She's a really good character. She's something alright. How do I describe Catwoman? She's greedy, but she's also, and she mainly looks out for herself, but she does give a shit about Bruce, and she wouldn't just let him die, as we saw in Arkham City. And she does really care about him, as we see in Night, and that she does maybe love him, even. But, I think Catwoman's fairly well portrayed in the Arkham series. I think what she does in City is good, but I just don't like her section in City as much, because, just because it disrupts the main story a lot, and yeah, it's that. It's mainly that. But I do like her a lot. I do like Catwoman a lot as a character, especially when they make her redeemable and make her care about Bruce and not just completely all for herself, because that just makes her unlikable when she just keeps fucking Batman over. And I appreciate that they don't do that here. She doesn't just keep fucking him over. So, yeah. Harley Quinn is... Oh, and by the way, this is just based on how they're portrayed in the games, not just how they are in general. Otherwise, this would be probably a different list. But they're pretty consistent with my opinions on them in general. Harley is portrayed fairly well in the series. She's, as Gotham Paladin put it, she's genuinely evil in this series. She's not redeemable whatsoever. She helps torture Jason. She tries to kill Tim multiple times, actually. And she teams up with Scarecrow to take Batman down, and she does anything and everything Joker wants her to. And it's really sad, because I really like a redeemable Harley. But she's done solidly in this series as the villain. I do prefer a redeemable Harley, like I said. And she's fun to play as. If you didn't know, you can play as Harley in this game, in Arkham Knight. So I would say she's done fairly well. Harley's done good. I like her little section in Night at the movie studios. Yeah. The whole thing with the Jokers and everything was dumb. I didn't really like any of those. But I did like the boss fight with Albert King, where you get to beat the shit out of him as Batman and Robin. That was cool. And Johnny Charisma with Mark Hamill singing that song as Joker. Excellent. Just really fun playing as Batman and Robin together. And I like that she was so desperate to get Joker back in some way. And that was the way for her to do it. So, Harley gets an A. Black Mask. You get to see. Black Mask can be an interesting, good villain when he's like a badass, when he's like an intimidating gangster. And I like him from some of the stuff we see in Origins when it's actually him and not Joker. And he's more laid back and cold rather than over-the-top personalities like Penguin or Two-Face. I think he can be really interesting like he was in Batman Under the Red Hood. A solid villain. But he's not really anything special in the series. And what they do in Night, they just kill him off with Red Hood. I just wish that all those story packs in Night were expanded upon. But Black Mask is fine. He's nothing too special. Again, wasted potential. So, nothing really to say there. I just wish they did more with him. I like what Ewan McGregor did with him in the DCEU. That was a great casting. Brandon from Arkham Origins, the guy that, the main cop that wants to kill Batman and get the bounty. D, nothing too special, but he's a decent little side villain that's there at Night. I mean, I appreciate that they tried giving us a more menacing cop for Batman to go up against and have a rivalry with, but nothing too special. Deadshot. And this is not counting Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, because I haven't played it and probably won't for a while. He's B tier. I really like Deadshot in general as a character. I like him in the Suicide Squad movie, even if the movie sucks. I really like him as a character with the whole story with his daughter. I know he mainly does it for her, but he's also just greedy for money and everything, and he's a bit of an asshole. And I like his side missions in City, where you track down each of his victims and then have to stop him before he kills Jack Ryder and then Bruce Wayne and Batman. But his boss fight was nothing, because you just have to go under a floor grate to stop him. And then in Origins, he had an excellent boss fight where you have to do all these different kinds of takedowns to take him down, similar to Mr. Freeze in City. But I really like Deadshot. I like Deadshot a lot. And I just don't think they did anything too special with him. In the series, he served his purpose well, and he was done B tier. I wish they brought him back in Night. Then again, I just wish they had another season of villains, like the Season of Infamy, except with another season of side missions. But then again, the game is perfect, as is with the number of side missions it has. The Abramchi twins, is that what it's called? Let me check. Abramochi twins? Is that what it is? Is that their name? Abramochi? Okay. The twins are C tier villains. They're fine. They're great little bosses for you to fight in the main story and in challenge maps, but nothing too special villains. Just really big, intimidating henchmen with a nice little backstory that they were brothers that were separated. Two-Face. Now, on his own, Two-Face is S tier for me. But in this series, he doesn't do as much as I'd like him to do. So he just goes in A. I love his side mission in Night where you have to stop his henchmen from robbing banks and ultimately you face against him. And I love the dialogue implying that everything from the Long Halloween happened in this series with him, Gordon, and Batman all teaming up, and then how acid got thrown in his face and that ruined him, and the whole deal with the mob and how he was like the puppet. Well, not like the puppet, and how he was like the punching bag for the mob, really, in the end. And that Batman and Gordon came out on top, really. And so, I love Two-Face. I think he's a complex, awesome villain in general, but in City, they don't really do anything with him. He's just, generic villain or whatever, but he was still good. And I like that he had a rivalry with Catwoman. But again, they just don't really do anything too crazy with him. I feel like if they incorporated him more into the main story in Night, instead of just as a side mission, like they incorporated him into it, like Batman has a run-in with him, actually, instead of just making it a side mission. Like, don't get me wrong, keep the side mission, but give us a little bit of an introduction to him in the story. So, yeah. Alright. Here we go. Bane. I fucking love Bane. S tier, S tier, S tier. So, Bane is fucking phenomenal. In Arkham Origins, at least. He's cunning, highly intelligent, and ruthless, as well as extremely strong and intimidating. A force of brute strength and brawn. He finds out Bruce's true identity and tortures him by killing his closest friend and corners him once and pushes him to temporarily stop his heart. He wants to end the Bat's legacy out of hate. I'm not entirely sure why, but I'd say based on what I know of the comics everything Batman stands for, justice in a cruel world, but also because he represents his own interpersonal demons he can't fend off and thus wants to kill him to find peace. Just all the dialogue with Bane in Arkham Origins is phenomenal, and the boss fights are S tier, and his team up with Joker is on point. I love him in Origins, and I'll emphasize that more on the Arkham Origins analysis, but for now, he's S tier based on that portrayal. However, I can't overlook how he was portrayed in the other games. And when I say the other games, I mean just as this big dumb brute. Like, it was good to see him in Asylum and City, but he's treated like just this big dumb oof that is just some big brute for Batman to fight. And I don't like that. And if it was just based on his portrayal in City and Asylum, he'd probably go into C tier portrayal. But because of Origins, he's brought all the way up to S. And I know most people would probably have to put him down in A because of that. But honestly, I don't care. I just can't put him any lower than S. So let's see. I don't know who this is. I don't. So we're just going to leave them there. Electrocutioner. D. Nothing too special with him in Origins. His boss fight is a joke. He's a joke. And Joker kills him, so nothing too special. Firefly. I actually really like Firefly. He's not on the level as these guys, but I'm gonna put him at the top of B. I really like Firefly. He has an S tier boss fight, and in Origins he's an absolute menace. Like, if we just had him in Origins, A. You know what? I'm gonna put him at the bottom of A. I know he's not quite as good as all these guys, but I'm going to put him at the bottom of A. Just because I really like Firefly. He's not like this super complex villain. He's just evil and over the top and insane and just wants to burn everything. And I fucking love it. He almost kills a bunch of hostages and almost destroys the bridge in Arkham Origins. And in my opinion, had a decent chance at killing Batman and stopping him. He nearly had a huge win over Batman. And then in Night, he has some fun chases where you chase him around in the Batmobile. And he has a nice little backstory with the fire crew chief, having a little deal under the table with him that in which he would give Firefly like codes for abandoned buildings for him to burn down in exchange for the firefighters having somewhere to, go put out fires. That was an interesting little thing. But I would say he is at the bottom of A. I really like Firefly. Talia. I love Talia. A. I really like Talia in City. I think, we very clearly see that her and Bruce loved each other dearly for a long, long time. And have had a little complicated thing going on, and I really like that. She just, I don't know. And we see that she's still very loyal to her father, but in the end, how she would do anything to protect Bruce because she still loves him. I think she just works really well as a villain and as a side to Ra's, and Ra's almost tries to kill her in exchange to get Bruce to turn over to his side. And that was good, And she ends up trying to kill Joker in the end, but only ends up getting killed herself, so she's tragic in the end. But I would say she's an A-tier villain. More on her in the City analysis. Anarchy. B. Anarchy's a fun little side villain in Origins. And he serves his purpose well, I would say. He's just a fun little menace of a kid that wants to show Gotham how corrupt everything is and how the systems have let him down, and it's all true because Gotham is really corrupt. But, yeah, he's just a fun little villain on the side. Nothing too special. Killer Croc. A tier. Scary as fuck, intimidating as hell, creepy as hell, and just strong, but also a menace for sure. He's very much so a menace that is very down to just eat Batman, kill him, and doesn't give a shit. And he's very scary in Asylum. He has a scary little moment in City. He's intimidating in Origins with a good little beginning boss fight, and he's very scary in Night too, in my opinion. that's a great boss fight there too. The Asylum boss fight, wow, so scary. I was on the edge of my seat and almost had a heart attack anytime he would pop out of the water. But yeah, really good villain. And I think he should be in one of the movies soon, because he deserves better than that stupid shit he got in Suicide Squad. But he also has a nice little tragic backstory in Night, where that he's being tortured and experimented on by the warden in the Iron Heights airship prison. So we see, not a redemption arc, but we see and empathize with him a little bit, even though he still wants to eat Batman. So yeah, he serves his role well, and I think he's a good villain. Nyssa, Talia's sister. B. We don't see her very much in Night, but when we do, she's solid. I appreciate that she actually does something and has some character to her, in that she wants her father's reign to end and wants to lead a new era of the League and guide them out of Gotham, you know? And she forms a little alliance with Batman, and you can choose to prevent his resurrection or save him. And if you prevent his resurrection, then she lives. But if you don't, and you help revive him, she's gone. She dies. And so, yeah, this is a really good villain. I like her. She's cool. I want to see her more in other media, for sure. Penguin. Usually I'd put Penguin in B, just because I'm not like the biggest fan of him. Because I just don't think he's anything too special. But he's an A. I appreciate Penguin. Again, major menace of a gangster. He's intimidating to his henchmen, at least. But to Batman, he's just a grumpy little man that he can just beat the shit out of. And we beat the shit out of him numerous times. Very satisfying. He's even loyal to his men in Night. And that you can even hear him say, when you meet him, when you go to take him down after you find out that the Knight went there with Barbara, that he's informs his henchmen that, you know, they'll get their cut when it comes time. But that doesn't mean he doesn't still torture the ones that let him down. And he almost kills Nightwing. And he tries to kill Bruce at the beginning of City. He had Solomon Grundy as a little monster in his basement. And yeah, A-tier portrayal of Penguin. I think my favorite portrayal of Penguin is either in The Batman or Gotham. Both made him really interesting and not just some generic guy. Poison Ivy. A. She's fine in City. Nothing too special. Not in Origins. And in Asylum, she's a really solid villain. You know, just wants to take care of her plants. Hates Batman. Hates everyone. And she has a great, extremely difficult boss fight. And she's not like evil or anything. She's just a crazy bitch. So, yeah. She's a good villain, but in Night, she has a little redemption arc because she helps Batman save the city with her plants, and it's really cool. And although I think the plant part of the main story is one of the weaker parts of the story and an otherwise amazing story in Arkham Knight, I still think they portrayed her fairly well and gave her a nice redemption arc. And I've developed a greater liking for her because of the Harley Quinn TV series, where they portray her as more redeemable and as someone that actually cares about her friends and doesn't just want to kill everyone. I really like that side of Ivy. So I would say they went from just generic, solid portrayal of Ivy to more complex. And something I really appreciate. Not phenomenal, but still really great. Deathstroke. God, if this was how much I love him in general, he would go in S tier. He's going at the bottom of A. Now, I love Deathstroke as a character. I think he's compelling. I think he's intimidating. He's ruthless. He's very cunning, very intelligent. He'll do whatever it takes to earn his bill, make the kill, whatever you want to say. And I just think he's a really good villain. And in Origins, they have a nice, phenomenal boss fight with him. And we see him only briefly in the game. But in the trailers for the game, he looked dope as fuck. And was really cool. But in Night, I would say they still portray him well as someone that takes over for the Arkham Knight. And I love in the comics that he helps Jason escape, even if Jason had to pay him. And as the follow-up commander after the Arkham Knight, that works well. That was a great twist. I did not see him coming back for that. And although his boss fight was really disappointing, it makes sense for him to be so cocky that he would just be in his tank and Batman take him down. I do wish that they had a physical fight in the end or something. I wish they had more boss fights in Night that weren't just Batmobile fights. But yeah, he's A tier for me. Man-Bat. Good villain. B tier. Scary. Creepy. Intimidating. Didn't expect to see him in the game at all. Very welcome surprise. I'd say he's a great villain. And he has a nice little side mission in Night where you learn about Kirk Langstrom's backstory and how he turned into the Man-Bat after killing his wife because of a stupid experiment he tried. And yeah, and he's fun to chase and hunt down in the game and everything. Just a fun little side mission that I really like. And so, but it's really sad in the end that he finds out he killed his wife and everything. But I was about to say he never turns into the Man-Bat again. But if you play the game on Halloween, you'll find out that he actually broke out of his cell, which is really interesting. So yeah, Man-Bat's B tier. Nothing too special, but I still really appreciate him. I think they did him well, for sure. B tier is still with villains that are done well, but nothing too special. Professor Pig. Disgusting. A tier. Creepy as fuck. I would say he's more despicable than Zaz. Zaz is just really creepy, but Pig is disturbing. I mean, they're both insane, but Pig, like, carves his villains to his own pleasing and doesn't just kill them or free them. He tries to remake them into creations of his own, and it's freaky as fuck. I mean, God. His side mission was so creepy and so disturbing. When you meet him, he's so off, insane, and off the rails, I guess. I don't know how would I describe him. I have a psych degree. I should be better at this. He's just the epitome of insanity and sociopath. But also God complex, because he calls himself God at one point. Jesus. But he's creepy as fuck. He has a solid boss fight, and what he does to those people, turning them into creations that can't feel any pain, but can't speak anymore, and are basically lobotomized, is creepy as hell. So, I'm going to put him in A. I was very glad to have gotten rid of him. I think he should be the next on Red Hood's kill list. Mad Hatter. I used to put him in B. He's going in A. I really like Mad Hatter. I think he's, once again, a menace to society and a big-time creep. It's implied that he's raped women that he's kidnapped, which is creepy as fuck. And, like, women that he dresses up as Alice or whatever. But then again, in City and Night, he wants Batman to be his Alice, which is really disturbing. And he has a great side mission in City where he overhears that Batman is in need of a cure because he's sick in that game, thanks to Joker. And he sends a message to Batman, pretending that he's Alfred, that he has the cure, when he's actually drugged him to be part of his little tea party. And he ends up having to fight Hatter. And then at night, he kidnaps some cops and turns himself into the GCPD in effort to play a little game with Batman. And in the end, he goes on a trip down memory lane with his little scrapbook. And I just think he's really well done. And I think he's fun in something like Gotham, for example. So I have an even bigger soft spot for him. So I really like... I'm not saying a soft spot. I just really like him as a villain. I think he's a fun villain, for sure. Ra's al Ghul. Normally he would go in S. But right now he's got to go at the top of A. Because City does him really well, and they bring him back. He's brought back from the dead again. And just wants Batman to take over from him so bad. It's not even funny. And he ends up threatening to kill his daughter. And we all only come to find out that he was the puppet master behind Hugo Strange all along, and was the one that created Arkham City with the intent of killing all the criminals in it. And I think that makes him all the more interesting. I think it makes so much sense for Ra's to be behind it all. He's much more interesting than Hugo in every single way. And then in Night, because he gets killed at the end of City, but they never find the body because he falls to his death, we come to find out in Night that he was brought back and is just barely alive, and you have the choice of either, bringing him back or preventing his resurrection. And we already talked about what happens based on what you choose. And I think either ending is really effective. But I think in the ending where he tells Batman that he's proud of him after not resurrecting him, very interesting stuff. Very, very interesting. Or when he kills Nyssa instead and manages to escape, that's something. But yeah, he's an amazing villain. Deacon Blackfire, that's his name. I'm sorry, it took me a second. He's C tier. Just some preacher, zealot guy that leads a cult in Gotham that tries to kill Jack Ryder, the reporter. Nothing too special. Fun little side mission where you beat the shit out of a lot of people at the statue Lady of Gotham in Arkham Knight. Nothing too special. Just demented preacher guy. It was nice to take down a zealot and a cultist for once. So, yeah. Quincy Sharp, the warden of Arkham Asylum and the mayor of Gotham City in Arkham City. He's a piece of shit. He's going in B. No. He belongs in C. Because he turned a blind eye to Hugo's experiments at the asylum. He does whatever he wants just for his own gain. And he's clearly insane because he turned out to be the spirit of Arkham. In Arkham Asylum. And yeah. He's just completely insane and has some schizophrenic tendencies apparently. From what I understand. And is just really, really creepy. And I just think that he's a terrible person. And not very likable, but not very interesting either. He's just there, So, Shiva. B. I like Shiva. Shiva's a B. She has an interesting little side mission in Origins, where she's one of the Assassin's Black Mask hires. And she just tries to teach Batman a lesson and test him to see if he's worthy of being of the League of Assassins' attention. And she also serves as a little boss fight at the beginning of Bruce Wayne's initiation at Master Kurigi's place in the Himalayas, I think. She's interesting. She's nothing too special, but she's a good villain. She's good. I like her. I wish we saw more of her. She's a good villain. So, yeah. All right. Now we get into the legends of the legends. Riddler. Wow. I love Riddler. I don't give a shit what anybody says. He might be annoying as fuck, but he is so effective for me. Oh my god, I love Riddler and how annoying he is. He just begs for attention and just wants to be Batman's equal so bad, and he never will be because he's a piece of shit sociopathic narcissist. Wow. And collecting his trophies, so annoying, but so satisfying just to hear him get his ass kicked in the first one. And then actually kick his ass in the second one. And then beat the shit out of him at night. So satisfying. I love Nigma. I mean, he takes a lot of people hostage in City. He tries to kill one of the main women Batman has ever loved in Night. He tries to extort a bunch of people in Origins. He is insane and will do whatever it takes to get Batman's attention. And although I think it's kind of dumb that he made Trials for the Batmobile in Night, I still love him. I think he's a phenomenal villain, and I'll be honest, I don't like what they did with him in The Batman. I like that they made him a serial killer, but at the same time, it just didn't. I'm sorry, we're not here to talk about that movie, but anyway, I like him. I love Nigma a lot. Then we come to Scarecrow, S tier. I mean, wow. In Asylum, he's scary as hell. He honestly gave me nightmares when I first played the game in middle school. And he's always just been really scary with the nightmares he gives Batman, especially the third one where he makes you think your game has crashed, only for it to turn out to be a hallucination where Joker brings Batman to the asylum and Batman's actually being restrained this time, and the music in his nightmares really creeped me out. And he ultimately tells Batman that he thinks he's just as crazy as the rest of them, that he needs them as much as they need him. And he tries to poison Gotham only for Killer Croc to get him. But he barely survives, and he conspires in Arkham City to get revenge on Batman, and ultimately comes back in Night to take him down with the help of the Arkham Knight. I mean, come on. He kidnaps 3 of Batman's allies, tortures Batman psychologically, pretends he killed one of his allies, tries to control another, and brainwashes and teams up with an ally Batman thought was long gone and brings him back to haunt him, and that being Jason, and unmasks him in front of the whole world and attempts to destroy his legacy, all the while gassing him constantly to bring out his worst fears, which are already bad enough with the Joker infection, all in the name of fear and vengeance. And he's scary as hell and almost destroys Gotham. That sounds like an S tier to me. Oh, and John Noble's performance? Perfect. And the way he taunts Batman throughout the game? Perfect. Just perfect. I don't care if people are like, oh, he didn't do that much. Yes, he did. Shut up. He is phenomenal. I love him. The end. One of Batman's best villains. And of course, best for last, Joker. Do I even need to get into it? Really? Joker's an S tier in this series. I mean, he's phenomenal in Asylum, he's phenomenal in City, he's phenomenal in Origins, and he's phenomenal in Night. And I will talk about that more in each video of the series. So, yeah. He's the Joker. He tortures Batman, he brainwashes and tortures Jason, paralyzes Barbara, tortures Gordon, and poisons Batman, only to die out of stupidity and arrogance. Wow. And I just think that he was phenomenal in City, and he was even better in Origins, in my opinion, where you learn of his obsession for Batman and everything, and that he just loves Batman and finds him to be his equal in craziness and purpose and destiny. And then at Night, he comes back to haunt Batman via the fear gas and the disease that Batman still has that's slowly turning him into the Joker. While I question the logic of that last one, I still think he was phenomenal at Night. And he was classic Joker in Asylum. So, yeah. Overall, this is my tier list, guys, and I don't think it needs any reordering at this time. So I hope you all enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!